So for this video, I will be looking at the top 10 decks to currently play in this format in November 2021. This is a mix of strength and price. I kind of consider budget mixed with price for this, so if a deck is good but very expensive, it will probably get punished for this on this list. So kicking off the list, number 10 we have Dinosaur. So Dinosaur is getting reprints in the upcoming Eldorado set, and it might even be easy to already get a core, depending on who you know. Maybe one of your friends, you know, has the core laying around they want to trade away. Maybe one of your locals still has a structure deck. Also, don't expect Dinosaur to get a hit anytime soon. If anything, might get stuff back from the ban list. And Dinosaur is just a solid deck, you know? Definitely not the best deck at the moment. Hell, it's probably not even running for the title. But in the hands of a good deck builder / pilot, I'm pretty sure you can at least do semi-well at something like a regional or YCS. Below that, you're gonna do even better. My number 9 is kind of an underrated deck right now, ELDLICH Stun variant. Just a very trap-heavy variant like they play it in the OCG. With ELDLICH reprints coming in Eldorado, this deck won't even be expensive. Everything that is expensive will get reprinted, if I'm not mistaken. And even if it's not the best deck, just sitting on floodgates with a decent beatdown strategy in the form of the ELDLICH monsters works against many decks. It might receive like a slight tap on the wrist at worst in one of the upcoming ban lists, but I don't expect this deck to get neutered or any big hits in general. Plus, ELDLICH can always be used as an engine. My number 8 is Virtual World. Yeah, this deck might just be flying under the radar. Many people, including me, are kind of underestimating this deck. But 2 Immersion Teleport is very relevant. It's an insane starter card for this deck. Most of the stuff for this deck got reprinted in the 2021 Mega Tins, which means you shouldn't be paying too much for this deck either. And I also don't expect any hits towards this deck anytime soon, so it's a decent investment. So my number 7, Fluff Balls. Honestly, who's really talking about Fluff Balls? Nobody. This deck is devastating going second, and based on my perception of the meta and the upcoming meta game going forward for a little while, I think one of the best ways to play Rogue or below at the moment is a blind going second deck. And Fluff Balls are excellent at this. Seriously, just look at Fluff Ball in the hands of a good pilot. This deck is insane. Also, since this deck isn't too popular, I think it should be affordable too. My number 6 deck is Evil Twin. The core, the actual Evil Twin deck, seems to be around $150 or so. At least looking at the card market, in USA it might be more expensive because, well, USA, they always have insane prices. It might be more expensive, but even then. The core plus the staples, I think, end up being mid-budget. They're not one of the cheapest decks, but they're also far from the most expensive. It's like a tier 2 deck. I think they're definitely underrated, and what also helps with the case of Evil Twins is that Konami knows they're making them a lot of money, you know? Everyone loves the artwork, people love playing the deck, so the chance of future support is pretty high, and the chance of hits is very low. So I think it's a very solid deck to pick up at the moment. My number 5 deck is Madolche. The thing with Madolche is they never seem to be not strong. They're always in good position, it seems. They're almost always rogue in every single format. And the thing with Madolche is, if you buy this deck once, you have a deck for the rest of your life. I don't think Madolche will go away from relevancy anytime soon. It's another one of those underrated decks. People don't really know how to play around it, since not a lot of people play Madolche. And it's great at going second, and like I previously said in this video, going second rogue decks, I think, are going to be very strong. My number 4, Pendulum, best deck, baby. Like, seriously though. Shoutouts to the Drift video on Team Samurai X1's channel. I'll show it like in the middle of the screen, and then you can easily look it up. Drift's dedication to this deck not only is something I can admire, but I also think this deck looks very legit. I was eating dinner and looked at the video because I was like, hey, Drift on Samurai X1's channel, this looks like fun. And the deck seems really impressive. Well, a lot of people are considering this to be one of the top decks, so it's once again one of those decks that is flying under the radar. Now, I'm not sure how expensive this deck was. Drift said it was about $100. I comment said $600, so not truly sure how efficient this deck is for your wallet. But the thing with Pendulum Magician is that I don't expect any hits at all. If anything, they should get more power back in the future, and they're already a strong deck. So if you get this deck, you will have a deck for a long while. I mean, look at how long Drift is playing this deck, and it's still very, very solid. My number 3 deck is Sword Soul Tenji. It's just the best variant of the deck, in my opinion, and that just makes the other versions of Sword Soul not worth playing. It's very pricey, but of course it's also very strong. One of the contenders for the top spot, and I would be surprised to end up being tier 1 in the TCG. My number 2 deck isn't exactly the strongest deck, but it's also not expensive. Earth Machine. It's very solid. Basically get 3 structure decks, get some additional cards, you'll have your deck. It has some reprints coming up in Eldorado. And a lot of people are sleeping on this deck. Just go and ask people what the best decks are. Not a lot of people will mention Earth Machine. But it's a very strong deck. I mean, a very good friend of mine is able to win locals easily. Not just top, but get first place with this deck at competitive locals. The results are definitely there for this deck. It just needs the right pilot, right build. But the biggest benefit of this deck is just it not being that expensive. And reprints are coming up. And the number 1 is, in my opinion, the undisputed best deck at the moment, Phantom Knight. It's insane with the Destiny Hero engine already. And with upcoming Brave engine, the Brave token stuff that is coming up sooner than later, it'll only be a better deck. And Konami, of course, wants to sell the Brave token engine, so they won't be hitting this deck. It's a solid investment. It's already strong, like with the Destiny Hero stuff, it might just already be a tier 1 deck, and Brave tokens will only make them better. It's already strong, it's getting more strong, it's probably going to be immune to hits. What's there not to like with this deck? And looking at stuff like PK Fire, Phantom Knights have already been viable for a long while, they've only gotten more support. I don't expect Phantom Knights to go anywhere. So these are my top 10 decks to currently play in this format, based on strength, price, and also a bit longevity, how long they will still be good. Any decks I missed? Obviously, I mean, there's a few decks which I just find hard to judge at power level, like Drytron, which of course aren't in the list. Just any others you might comment it down below. Just know, Synchrons aren't that good, Speedroids aren't either. Stop hyping decks that aren't that great. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.